Hello, buddy. Welcome back to Tim Man's Court Channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tim Man Taylor. Today I'm reacting my third and final Mr. Haunted video for you guys. And this was titled Three Horrifying Pizza Delivery Horror Stories. So without further ado, I'm going to turn these lights off, move the camera up here for you guys. And let's get this reaction on the road to the bag, shall we? Okay, here we go.
In 2010, I worked as a pizza delivery guy in Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay.
The pizza place I worked at was on the outskirts of the city, so when I drove to deliver a pizza to a customer, it would take a while depending on how far they lived. I've never really had a problem with delivering a pizza, and I didn't really encounter anything or anyone creepy. A few times, I delivered a pizza to a few people who were obviously on drugs, but that was pretty much it.
You know, that would be a pain in the butt for me because if I lived out in the countryside and they give us an estimated time when our pizza's about ready to be delivered, I'll be expecting to be here at that Pacific time. Now, sometimes the drivers make it here at our place, like right on schedule, but sometimes they might be a few minutes off. It just depends on who's driving, I guess. But also, I'll be a little bit mad if I had to deliver pizza to drug users or thugs because they might try to entice you to take the stuff they're on or kidnap you or something. You never know what would happen when you're out delivering pizzas. But anyway, let's just continue on with this guy's story and see what happens next, shall we?
However, there was this one time that I had to work the night shift as the other person who normally did it called in sick that day. This was the night that I quit. It was around 9 p.m., and I'd just gotten done delivering what I thought would be the last pizza of the night and was planning to head home when the phone rang. I picked up the phone, kind of annoyed, and said, "Thank you for calling Domino's Pizza. How can I help you?" There was silence on the other end for a few minutes before somebody said that they'd like an extra large pepperoni pizza delivered to a certain address. After that, I hopped into my car and put in the address into my GPS, and saw that it was about a 15-minute drive, which wasn't bad, considering the fact that most of the time, I sometimes had to drive 30 minutes to an hour. I drove the 15-minute drive and ended up in a really sketchy neighborhood. I pulled up to one of the houses and alarms immediately start going off in my head. 1. There was no light on in the house. 2. The house looked abandoned. And 3. The lawn was way overgrown. I really did not want to knock on the door, but it didn't seem like I had a choice. I sucked it up and brought the pizza to the door, but stopped on the doorstep when I heard the sounds of shoes walking towards the door. I stayed there frozen until I heard a man's voice say, "Hey, are you the pizza guy?" I said yes. He said, "Oh, perfect timing. Coming around back and put the pizza on the table and take the money."
No, no, no. Red flags. Red flags. If you see a house that looks like it's got overgrown grass and it's run down, no lights on them inside of it, I would have been staying in the car and called the number that called the pizza place just to tell them that I'm out there. And if they're there, I'll say, "I'm coming to the front door. I'm going to drop off your pizza there. Can you hand me my money right there, if you don't mind?" I don't want to be like going around back to their house, which I guarantee it ain't this guy's house. He's just probably a squatter staying there. I'd be lured right back just to get money when they probably don't have no money. They probably want to scare the crap out of him, just get free pizza or just murder him. I don't know what's going to happen here, but I would have been like, "Nope, just hand me the cash at the door and I'm out of here."
I'm not gonna lie, but when he said perfect timing, it kind of gave me the creeps. I cautiously made my way over to the backyard and put the pizza on the table. However, I noticed something in the corner of my eye. I turned and saw a shed with one of its doors slightly open. The idea that someone was hiding back there immediately came into mind. I decided that I had enough of this place and proceeded to walk back to my car, but as I was opening my car door, I saw someone dressed in black charging at me with what looked like a crowbar. I thankfully got in the car and locked the doors, and before he was about to swing his crowbar at my car, I thankfully sped off, not looking back for whatever reason.
Whew. Thank God your instincts kicked in, because if you just stayed there a little bit longer, that guy probably would have charged out of the shed and whacked you over the head with that crowbar. I told you, it had to be some people that were certified lunatics just to lure in a pizza delivery guy just to kill him and take the pizza. And I'm glad he was able to drive away from that place. I'll be calling the cops quick before they decide to get the pizza and whatever belongs to them and leave.
When I got back, I stormed into the shop very aggressively and told my boss I quit and explained everything, but he honestly didn't seem to care. The next morning, I called police and reported what had happened to me that night. I thankfully still remembered the address, and the cops did a thorough investigation of the house. A few hours later, they got back to me with some chilling and disturbing news. The house had been abandoned for the past 5 years, and once the officers stepped inside, they found nobody, and it seemed pretty much empty. However, once they searched the shed, they told me something that would never leave me. They found various knives, guns, and other sharp tools scattered all around the shed. But one officer found a folded piece of paper on the floor. He opened it, and it said my full name, address, phone number, where I worked, and who my relatives were. Whoever these people were knew everything about me, and don't ask how they knew. I moved out of state 3 months later.
Okay, that just gave me the chills. How would they know your full name, address, where you work, unless these people were like a whiz at computer hacking and they were able to figure that out? But then that theory is out the window, because that place don't have no electricity, unless they stalked him and talking to some of his mutual friends' family. But that'd be creepy. I wouldn't blame him for moving out of state, because I wouldn't want to deal with them. But I would tell my family members and friends to watch out for suspicious people that are looking for me, and tell them what happened. It seems like they either wanted to hold him for ransom, or if crap hit the fan with him fighting them guys, they were going to go in a blaze of glory, murder him probably. But anyway, I'm just glad he got out of there and doesn't have to deal with those creeps anymore. So let's get to story number 2, shall we?
When I was 19 years old, I had recently gotten a student loan to pay for my college. A student loan is basically when you don't have the money to pay for college, so you are given the money, but you have to pay it back by a certain time. That meant that I had to get a job to pay it back. Most of the stores around my neighborhood either declined my application or weren't hiring at the time, which is pretty annoying. Eventually, I just realized that a Pizza Hut had just recently opened a little ways up my street. I applied there, and thankfully, I had gotten the job. I was assigned to be the delivery guy.
Yeah, that could be a pain in the butt if you went to college and the people that are looking for people that have your set of skills end up turning you down, because they be like, they have enough people already, or they just don't want to take the time to interview you. So if you got a student loan you got to pay off, you got to just take a job that you could get until the one you're interested in opens up.
Not what I was hoping for, but hey, I got the job and I had my license and I knew how to drive, so it was better than nothing. I mostly did day shifts, delivering pizzas to houses and whatnot, and the job was actually going quite well. One day, my manager had told me that the guy who originally did the night shifts called in and said that he was going away on a vacation with his family for 3 weeks, and my manager gave me the night shifts. It didn't seem that it would be a problem, and I didn't have any classes during the night, so I took the shift. The first few nights went well, and everything seemed perfect. One night, after getting back to the shop from a delivery, my manager called me into his office and said that someone had called to place an order. The pizza was already made, and my manager gave me the address. It was somewhere that was 20 minutes away, which was a bit far and barely made the delivery radius, but it's still at least another tip. I plugged the given address into my GPS and started to drive. About 15 minutes into the drive, I started to notice that my GPS was starting to take me into the rural part of my city. All I could see in front of me was a road and a bunch of trees on both sides of the street.
Okay, I'll be sort of in a panic state mode because the only people that live out in rural areas are either hillbillies or crazy folk that don't mind killing you if you enter their property. So this guy needs to be on high alert if he runs into a bunch of sketchy folks.
Eventually, I pulled into a path that eventually led into a driveway into the woods. At this point, I could only assume that it was private property, but I still got out of the car and started walking towards the door with the pizza in hand. Immediately, I start to notice red flags. There were no lights on in the house, and it looked like nobody had lived here for years. The doorbell was broken, so I knocked on the door while saying that I was the pizza guy. Just then, I heard footsteps approaching the front door, fast, and a woman, I'd say in her 30s, opened the door and greeted me with a smile, saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry you had to wait." I told her that was no problem, and the pizza was $10.95. She then said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I think I left the money down in the basement. Would you help me go get it?" She sounded very suspicious, as if what she was saying were staged. I jumped into conclusions of what to do, but I didn't want to make it look like I knew something was up, so I stupidly agreed. Her and I both walked down the stairs that led into the dark basement. She then turned on the light and said that the money should be around here somewhere. As she said this, I happened to glance over to the far right of the basement where some old boxes were. However, I could see behind the boxes that there was someone hiding back there.
Yep, I knew it. It's a setup. She wanted to say that the money was downstairs just so he could be lured down there for them, whoever's behind the boxes, to jump out and grab him. I mean, if you see the money, take it and get back up the stairs quick before they decide to help you down there a little bit longer.
He thankfully didn't see me as he was crouched down facing away from me. I looked back at the woman, and she had this devilish smirk on her face. That was my cue to get out of there. I took the pizza and ran all the way back up the stairs, out the front door, and into my car, driving so fast you could swear I was in a race. I thankfully got back to the shop safely and told my manager, and he apologized and called police. The police did a sweep of the house and told us that it had been vacant for years. I'm just thankful I made it out okay. I'm not sure who those people were or what their intentions were, but I still wonder what could have happened to me had I fell for their sick trap.
Probably a bunch of homeless squatters that probably kidnappers. You just never know. Thank God he did the right thing and just bolt up the staircase and went back to his car and drive away. Because if he didn't, they would have been on his tail, grabbed him and hold him in that house. I mean, that would have been an automatic red flag right there when she said, "Can you come down to the basement to get the money?" I would just said, no, I'd rather wait right here. You can just go and get the money. I'm just glad he got out of there and his boss understands the whole situation about bringing the pizza back.
My name is Brian, and I was around the age of 14 when this happened. I lived in a very rural part of the outside of Nashville, so my house is basically in the middle of nowhere. One day, I was told that my parents would be going out into the city that night for their 25th anniversary for dinner. I was very excited that I would have the whole house to myself, and whenever my parents would go out, they would usually be gone for a long time, and I could really use the quiet. They left the house at around 7, and I just decided to play some video games and watch some TV and later maybe make some dinner. For the first couple of hours, everything went okay. I played a few video games, watched some TV, and mostly just kept to myself. At around 9:30, I was watching a scary movie, and it was getting to a good scene when I heard a knock at the door. I rolled my eyes and paused the movie, but I was also confused that someone would be knocking on our door this late in practically the middle of nowhere. I opened the door to see a man, I'd say in his 30s, dressed in a Pizza Hut uniform, holding a large pizza in his hands. He said, "Hey there, buddy. I got a large pepperoni pizza for the Sanders." I was confused as to why he was here and how he knew my family's last name, which is Sanders. I told him, hey, I didn't order any pizza. He said that someone from my address ordered it online. I asked him for his name, and he said it was Joseph. I said thanks and took the pizza from him, and he told me to have a nice night. As he was leaving, though, I noticed something very strange. I didn't see a car in our driveway, so I was wondering how he got here. I didn't pay too much attention, so I put the pizza down and called my mom to ask if she had placed the order. She said that she didn't order any pizza for me. Now I was kind of getting freaked out. I went out my front door trying to look for the delivery guy, but he was nowhere to be found. I then called Pizza Hut asking if they had delivered any pizza to my address. They told me to stay on the line while they checked, and they said, "Sorry, our records don't show that we delivered the pizza to your address." I told them thanks and hung up. I was very suspicious at this point and decided not to eat the pizza and that I would deal with it when my parents got home. I just went to my room and continued to play my games when I heard a slight knock on my window. I opened the blinds and saw the same pizza guy standing there with a wide smile. His eyes were crazy and wild, and he just stood there staring. I closed my blinds and immediately went to the kitchen to call police, and they said they would have a cop there in 15 minutes. I waited for what felt like hours until they finally came and took my statement. I gave them a description of the man, but they never found him, and I still have no idea as to what his intentions were. But I do know one thing. He was definitely not just planning on delivering me pizza.
Yeah, if you didn't order pizza from Pizza Hut and this guy just shows up out of nowhere with a pizza, claiming to be a pizza delivery guy, I wouldn't even eat the pizza either if I took it, because you never know, that guy probably laced the pizza with some drug to make you either sleep or. And my suspicion was kind of correct when he showed back up at his window staring and smiling at him like this. So he might have been planning on kidnapping him, but we'll never know since the police have a hard time trying to locate him. But if they do find him, I hope they put him in jail or in a mental asylum for life. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications for more Mr. Haunted content like this. This has been another successful installment of the Tin Man Score channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor. That's a wrap. Have a nice day, y'all.